My name is Clara, and I'm 48 years old. For the last decade, I've lived in a small craftsman-style house in Austin, Texas, a city buzzing with dreams that aren't my own. By trade, I'm a graphic designer and brand strategist. But for the past 8 years, my only client has been my younger sister, Zoe. I was the silent partner, the ghost in the machine behind her meteoric rise. I built her brand from the ground up, and in return, she was supposed to build our future. Last Thursday, I learned that our futures were no longer aligned. It arrived not with a bang, but with the slick, glossy feel of a magazine page. My friend Maria had dropped it off, a copy of Southern Style and Flair, with a little sticky note on the cover that said, "Page 52, she's a star." I made a cup of tea, my hands steady, a familiar swell of pride in my chest. This was it, the big one. A full-page feature on Zoe's boutique, Viridian, and its upcoming national expansion. We had talked about this for years, fantasized about it over late-night takeout as we sketched logos on napkins. I turned to page 52. The photo was stunning. Zoe, looking effortlessly chic in her own store, surrounded by the cool greens and polished brass that I had painstakingly chosen. The headline read, "Austin's design darling, Zoe Reed, takes on the world all on her own." All on her own. The words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. I read the article, my tea growing cold beside me. She talked about the sleepless nights she'd spent designing the logo. My logo. She recounted the flash of inspiration that led to the signature Viridian green color palette, a color I had mixed and remixed for weeks to get just right. She spoke of the brand's philosophy, its voice, its soul, using the exact words from the brand guide I had written for her, a document that was currently saved on my laptop under the file name Our Dream V7 Final. There was no mention of me. I was not a partner, a contributor, or even a footnote. I was in the glossy, professionally photographed story of her life, completely and utterly erased. I felt a strange cold calm settle over me. It wasn't the hot rage I might have expected. It was a quiet, hollow clarity. The ground beneath me didn't just crack. It vanished. For 8 years, I had poured every ounce of my creativity, my time, and my savings into her dream. I took on soul-crushing freelance projects at night to pay my bills so I could work on Viridian for free during the day. I cashed in my 401k to help her secure the lease on her first location. I told myself it was an investment in us, but as I stared at the photo of the woman I barely recognized, I realized there was no us. There was just Zoe and the ghostwriter she was about to leave behind. My phone buzzed. It was a text from her. "Did you see the article? It's insane. Can you believe it?" I looked at the magazine, then at the text. A slow, bitter smile touched my lips. Oh, I could believe it, and for the first time, I knew exactly what I had to do. I didn't reply with anger or accusations. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a fight. I just texted back 4 simple words. Read every single word. And in the silence that followed, I began to plan. She was about to learn that my name was on the copyright for every last pixel of her solo empire. The ghost was about to haunt the machine. The drive to my small rented studio the next morning felt different. The familiar Austin murals and bustling cafes seemed to blur past, unnoticed. My mind was a library of quiet injustices, and I was finally reading the catalog. How did I get here? How did I let my own ambition become a footnote in someone else's story? It started with a promise. 8 years ago, after our father passed away, Zoe was lost. She was working a dead-end retail job, her creative spark all but extinguished. I had a thriving freelance career, a solid roster of clients, and a reputation for being meticulous and insightful. One rainy afternoon, in this very house, she cried and told me about her dream. A boutique that felt like a curated home, a place of beauty and calm. I can see it, Clara, she had sobbed, her voice thick with emotion. A place that isn't just a store, but a feeling, beauty, calm, a haven. But I look at it and I can't make it real. I don't have your eye. You know how to build things that have a soul. I looked at her, concerned. Zoe, a business like that, it's a huge risk. It takes more than just a feeling. It takes capital, a solid brand. She leaned forward, grabbing my hand. Exactly. You're wasting your incredible talent on those soul-crushing corporate logos that you hate. This is our chance. A real legacy. Something that matters. Something for our family. Please, Clara. I can't do this without you. We'll be partners, 50-50, I swear. I took a long pause, torn. Okay, not 50-50. I can't run the day-to-day. You take the majority. You run the business. I'll build the brand. 40% equity. We do it together. Yes, together. You won't regret this. Together became my sacrifice. Partners became my servitude. I spent the first year creating the Viridian brand. I designed the logo, the website, the shopping bags, the business cards. I wrote the mission statement. I defined the customer profile. I did it all with the promise of a 40% equity stake once the business was profitable. A promise made on a handshake. Because who needs contracts when you have trust? Who needs lawyers when you have love? When the bank denied her initial business loan, I didn't hesitate. I cashed out my retirement savings, $75,000 I had carefully nurtured for my own future. It's our seed money, I told her, and the gratitude in her eyes was all the contract I thought I needed. For the first 2 years, I worked for free, living off my dwindling savings and the occasional side project I'd take on. I'd be working until 3 a.m. to meet a deadline for some soulless tech company, just so Viridian could have my daylight hours. I remember the grand opening. The store was packed. People were fawning over the Zoe Reed vision. She stood in the center of the room, radiant, accepting congratulations. I was by the stockroom, fixing a jam in the new credit card machine, and making sure the gift bags were properly stuffed. A local blogger asked me to take a photo of her with Zoe. I remember smiling, aiming the phone, and feeling a strange sense of invisibility, like I was just part of the store's fixtures. Every success was hers. Every failure was a we problem. When a shipment was late, it was we need to find a new supplier. When sales were slow in the first year, it was we need to rethink our marketing, which meant I needed to work harder. But when Austin Monthly named Viridian the Boutique of the Year, the headline was all about her. I told myself it didn't matter. As long as the business succeeded, we both succeeded. What a fool I was. I wasn't a partner. I was the foundation of the house, buried underground and completely out of sight. Later that afternoon, an email landed in my inbox. The sender was an attorney from the conglomerate's legal department. The subject: Viridian brand assets, pre-acquisition checklist. They needed me to sign a document, a simple work-for-hire release, confirming that all creative assets belonged wholly to Viridian LLC, and therefore to Zoe. A formality, Zoe had called it a few weeks ago. Just some legal paperwork the suits need for the deal. You know how they are. she'd said breezily. I opened the attachment. There it was, in cold, legal jargon. A document that would officially turn my life's work into her sole property for $1. It was a digital guillotine, meant to sever me from my own creation, and she had expected me to sign it with a smile. I didn't delete the email. I didn't reply. I saved it to a new folder on my desktop. I named the folder Evidence. For 2 days, I let my phone buzz. I let the unanswered texts pile up, each one a small testament to Zoe's rising panic. They shifted from confusion to frustration, then to accusation. You're being so dramatic. Are you trying to ruin this for me? Mom is worried. She says you haven't been answering her calls either. The mention of our mother gave me a slight pause. She was a gentle soul, a woman who prized peace above all else, and couldn't bear the thought of her daughters fighting. I knew Zoe would use her as a shield, as emotional leverage. But the quiet clarity I now possessed was a stronger shield. I didn't go home after work on Friday. Instead, I drove to a high-rise building downtown, the kind with glass walls and expensive art in the lobby. I wasn't there to see a client. I was there to see a friend. Marcus and I had gone to design school together. While I had poured my soul into one all-consuming project, he had taken a different path, getting a law degree and specializing in intellectual property. He'd called it selling out, but I knew he was brilliant. "Clara," he said, surprise warming his voice as he met me in the lobby. "It's been too long. You look determined." "I need a lawyer, Marcus," I said, skipping the pleasantries. "And I need to hire my friend." In his corner office, with the Austin skyline glittering behind him, I laid it all out. The handshake deal, the 401k, the years of unpaid work, the magazine article, and finally, the work-for-hire document they wanted me to sign. I pushed my laptop across his polished desk. He read in silence, his expression shifting from friendly curiosity to sharp, legal focus. He clicked through the files, asked the time-stamped design drafts, the email chains where I sent Zoe concepts, and she replied with "I love it, perfect." He spent a long time looking at the work-for-hire contract, a small, grim smile playing on his lips. When he was done, he leaned back. "She doesn't own any of this," he said, his voice flat and certain. Not the name, not the logo, not the brand identity. The brand, the actual asset the conglomerate wants to buy. "It's all yours, Clara. 100%. I shook my head slowly. For 8 years. I worked for free, Marcus. I gave her my retirement savings. All on a handshake because I thought trust was enough. He leaned forward. "Clara, you weren't foolish. You were family. The law protects creators, even when family betrays their trust." My voice hardened. "And now, she wants me to. For $1. So what do? We do nothing," he said. The simplicity of it was breathtaking. We don't send her a thing. We don't call her. We let them get to the final due diligence stage. And then, he leaned forward. "Sant. We send a very polite, very formal letter to the conglomerate's general counsel, informing them that the intellectual property is not for sale." It was a devastatingly simple plan. Not a messy, emotional fight with my sister. It was a clean, strategic checkmate. "They'll drop her so fast," Marcus continued. "It'll create a sonic boom. The deal will be dead on arrival." He paused, his lawyerly demeanor softening for a moment. "Are you sure this is what you want? This will be final?" I thought of the magazine article. I thought of the words all on her own. I thought of the last 8 years of my life. Of the dreams I had deferred. Of the credit I had never received. Was I sure? "I'm sure," I said, and my voice didn't waver. She built her empire on my work. It's time she learned what happens when the foundation is removed. Leaving his office, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weight of my unspoken resentment, the burden of my unappreciated sacrifices. It was all lifting. That night, I didn't check my phone. I poured a glass of expensive whiskey I'd been saving, sat on my back porch, and listened to the sounds of the city. For the first time, I felt like one of the dreamers again. Only this time, the dream was my own. A week passed. I went to work at my studio, sketching out ideas for a new portfolio, feeling a creative spark I hadn't felt in years. It was exhilarating. Zoe's texts had escalated into a torrent of panicked voicemails. The deal was in the final stages. Why wasn't I answering? The doorbell rang on a Saturday afternoon. I knew who it would be. I hadn't spoken to our mother in a week. A calculated risk. I knew Zoe would deploy her when all other tactics failed. I opened the door. There she was, my mother, looking frail and worried. And right behind her, looking defiant and wronged, was Zoe. It was an ambush. "Clara, thank God," my mother began. "Why haven't you been answering? We've been so worried." Zoe pushed past her. Worried? I'm about to lose everything because she decided to throw a tantrum. "Hello, Zoe," I said, my voice as calm as a frozen lake. "I'm refusing to sign a legal document that erases my life's work." "A document? Clara, it's just paperwork. Your sister has worked so hard for this beautiful success. We should all be celebrating her." I turned to her. "Her success? Mom, this house was paid for by the soulless corporate work I did, so I could build her brand for free. Oh, here we go. The martyr. It's marketing, Clara. You have to simplify the story for it to be powerful. A solo female entrepreneur is a better narrative. I understand brand strategy, Zoe. I also understand theft. A narrative doesn't entitle you to my portfolio. It doesn't entitle you to the color I mixed for 3 weeks, or the logo I sketched on 100 napkins. And it certainly doesn't entitle you to my 401k. Zoe's face twisted. "I can't believe this. You're just jealous. You were always the one with the talent, but you never had the guts to do anything with it. I'm the one who took the risk. I'm the one who put myself out there." That was it. The final clarifying blow. All my sacrifices, all my support, reframed as cowardice. My love, twisted into jealousy. A cold fire moved through me. "Get out," I said. It was quiet, almost a whisper. "What?" Zoe stammered. "Get out of my house," I repeated, my voice stronger now. Cutting through the tension. "You come into my home, after erasing me from our story, and you accuse me of being jealous of the life I handed to you. The risk you took was with my money. The brand you put out there was my work. You weren't a risk-taker, Zoe. You were a gambler playing with house money, and the house is closing its doors. Clara, don't do this," my mother whispered, tears in her eyes. "She's your sister." "And I'm her sister," I replied, my voice breaking for just a second before stealing over again. "A sister who deserved to be seen. A sister who is done being the villain in a story I wrote with love." Zoe stared at me, speechless for the first time. She saw something in my eyes she had never seen before. A boundary. A hard, immovable line. She turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. My mother stood there, caught in the aftershock. "What have you done?" she asked. I looked at her, my heart aching for her pain, but not for my decision. "I've finally chosen myself," I said, "and I'm not sorry." She left a few minutes later. Her shoulders slumped. The silence that filled my house wasn't empty. It was full of power, full of self-worth. I didn't feel guilty. I felt born. The day after the confrontation, the world didn't end. But Zoe's did. On Monday morning, Marcus sent the letter. A calm, professional, devastatingly polite summary of my ownership of all Viridian brand assets, sent directly to the general counsel of the luxury conglomerate. It was, he later told me, a ticking time bomb delivered by certified mail. The explosion came on Wednesday. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a reporter from a major business journal. "Ms. Reed," she began, "we've just received a statement from the Hawthorne Group that their planned acquisition of the Viridian brand has been terminated. Effective immediately, due to significant disputes over intellectual property ownership. Would you care to comment?" I smiled. "I have no comment at this time," I said, "but I'd be happy to talk to you in a few weeks about my new branding agency." The fallout was immediate and catastrophic for Zoe. The news spread like wildfire. The story of the solo design darling was replaced by a much juicier one. The story of the sister who stole it all. The local blogs that had praised her were now dissecting her downfall. Within a week, she had to shut down Viridian's online store because the brand itself was now legally toxic. The national expansion was dead. The boutique, without the brand, was just a room full of expensive clothes nobody wanted anymore. I received one final email from her. It wasn't angry or accusatory. It was just one sentence. "I hope you're happy." I thought about it for a long time. Was I happy? Happy to have destroyed my sister's dream? No, but I was content to have reclaimed my own. I was at peace with having stood up for myself. I archived the email without a reply. The weeks that followed were a renaissance. I took the Viridian brand, my brand, and scrubbed Zoe's name from it. I rebranded it as Clara Reed Designs. I built a new website, a portfolio of the work I had done, telling the true story of its creation. The Business Journal reporter did call me back, and this time I told her everything. Clients started calling. Small business owners, artists, entrepreneurs who had read the story and felt a connection to it. They didn't just want a logo. They wanted a partner. Someone who understood that integrity is the most valuable asset you can have. I never wanted revenge. Not in the screaming, vindictive way you see in movies. I just wanted justice. I wanted acknowledgement. My revenge was quiet. It was legal. It was the simple, irrefutable truth. I just stopped holding up the walls of the house she had built on my land. There's a strange, powerful peace that comes with choosing yourself. For years, I had defined my worth by my usefulness to someone else. Now, I wake up each morning and ask myself a simple question. What do I want to build today? My new rule is simple. My name goes on my work. My presence is not negotiable. My dreams are no longer deferred. I'm still in my little house in Austin, but the city doesn't feel like it belongs to other people's dreams anymore. It feels like it's mine. I have dinner with friends who see me, not what I can do for them. I'm taking a pottery class, getting my hands dirty creating something unapologetically my own. I've learned the hardest and most important lesson of my life. You don't have to make yourself small to let someone else shine. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is take back your light, step into the sun, and let them learn to grow on their own.